Why music? You know, you could have played football. I know then you might have had an injury. You could have gone into math. You probably could have gone to Eton somehow.
I doubt it. But yeah, I don't think that would have sat with my persona.
I mean, I have a lot of people that listen to this from the States, and if you don't know, I mean, the British system is so unique, and the fact that you have these super elite schools that even if you're not told that these people will run the world, historically, you know, they have, and they are some of the top institutions, even to get into a lot of jobs in finance where I used to work. You know, there are feeder schools from Cambridge and Oxford. There is this kind of a shadow system of elite university versus non-elite in this country. I would say much more than
what
the
they call the
USA.
red brick universities.
Okay.
But even before university level, you know, what is it? Something like 83% of senior government in this country went to Eton. Don't quote me on that exact statistic, right? But I know it's somewhere in that region. So not only are we talking about people in positions of power that are similar in terms of their gender, similar in terms of their race, similar in terms of their economic background, we're talking about people that just went to the same school. You know, and then we say democracy. I mean, how democratic can the decision-making process be when all the people in positions of power are not only from the same background, they all went to the same school?
Right.
So I think that is worthy of dialogue, but people don't seem to think so. But yeah, that school system is what it is. For me, music, I was always involved in music. I grew up on a sound system. I grew up partly in a theatre. I always loved music. I always loved writing. Which even though I was good at maths and science, writing was still the thing that I felt I excelled at most, in some form of writing. And then Public Enemy came out, but then Wu Tang Forever came out.
Yeah, so 1998, Wu Tang Forever came out.
Yes, 97.
97, excuse me. And you heard that, and that made you start reading and start.
I said, this is what I want to do with my life. Well, I was already reading, but I'm saying Wu Tang Forever was a moment of crystallization almost.
A bunch of guys from Staten Island are inspiring a kid in England to go.
For sure. Like, now I look back now, that album, now a lot of people prefer 36 Chambers, I get that, but I was 9 when 36 Chambers came out. So retrospectively, I think it's a great record, and I know Wu Tang Forever got slept on a lot in the States, but for me here, number one, it was the first rap album to go number one in the UK. It was the first hip-hop album that, it seemed in my childhood, united everybody. Even if we listened to, you know, the people who were listening to Oasis and Nirvana or Blur or whatever else, Wu-Tang was the first record that got everyone's attention, but was still authentically hood. It wasn't trying to be an alternative music album. It just was, the level of poetry was that strong and that good that it seemed to pull everyone in. And everyone was just like, wow, in awe of these guys. And so what struck me about Wu-Tang was the level of unapologetic poetry from these guys. They didn't dress differently, they didn't speak differently, they didn't try and not be who they were. Some of them have been to prison, some have been shot, some have sold drugs. They had a, you know, cliche hip-hop upbringing, right? A ghetto upbringing in the projects in New York. At least most of them. And yet here they were using words like benevolent in rap songs. And I just found that amazing. And I wrote out the lyrics to all 28 songs. It's a double disc album. I still could tell you the whole album back to front, including the skits.
This is before they printed lyrics and albums.
Exactly.
Or you could get them on the internet.
I mean, this was when internet was really first starting to make its impact. I know for the young generation now, they can't even imagine a world without YouTube, let alone without internet, right?
Right. I mean, the people will know, they forget that music was the original internet. You know, whether you look at the Doors singing Break On Through in the 70s and promoting an anti-war vibe, or Wu-Tang spreading a message in 97, I mean, that was the way.
Music was the way to spread a message. And so for me, I think that's what attracted me most. Football, I fell out of love with it. It was something that was very useful for me as a teenager that I think helped, at least to the best of its abilities, it helped keep me out of trouble. I was getting the train to Romford and back 3 times a week from North London, right? Which it grew me up as well. You know, my mum was very sick during my early period at West Ham. She couldn't take me. So I, as a 12-year-old boy, and Romford back then, I don't know how it is now, you know, but Romford back then was a real skinhead area. Like, it wasn't somewhere as a young black or brown person you really wanted to be found, to be honest with you. It was a real NF territory. And, you know, we got a little bit of abuse a few times, you know, and things of that nature. But it grew me up.
Character building.
It was character building. You know, it wasn't what my parents had to
That's a great way to look at any horrible experience in your life.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I did, but I wanted to play football that much, right? And I didn't, when I was 12 or 13 years old, you couldn't have told me I wasn't going to be a Premier League football player. But by the time I got to 15 or 16, I realized it wasn't for me. I didn't want to spend the next 15 years playing football.